What is up guys, Dzeeff here, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel video. While this video is best watched if you are brand new to Master Duel, I think that it has a lot of tips and tricks for all types of players. Master Duel is a pretty cool new game, but I realize that Yu-Gi-Oh! As a card game can be pretty overwhelming, and I think that with this game people can get a little bit confused right off the start. So in today's video I have a bunch of tips and tricks for new and returning Yu-Gi-Oh! Players that are just now picking up Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. This game is super fun and very exciting, and while I know that I've made a couple sort of negative videos about Master Duel over the past few days, don't let that discourage you. I love Master Duel. I've been streaming it pretty much every single day over on twitch.tv/Dzeeff, and I've been making a lot of videos about this game. I really do enjoy playing it. So in today's video I'm going to try to give newer and returning Yu-Gi-Oh! Players some tips to help them start out on the right foot in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. This video technically has like 5 tips, but they're pretty broad and I have a lot of like smaller examples to talk about, so without further ado, let's get started. First off, you guys should know that when you start Master Duel for the very first time on a new account, you'll be given about 2,500 gems for basically doing nothing. And I have seen and heard about a lot of people that have just immediately wasted all of them. So let's talk about how you can avoid doing that. If we go over to the shop here, it might be a little overwhelming. There are a lot of options, but you have a bunch of packs, you have structure decks, you have accessories, you have special stuff, which is basically bundles and the duel pass. I'll advise you guys to stay away from the structure decks. It might seem like a good idea to spend 1,500 gems to get a playset of all of the cards in these decks, but honestly I think that your gems are better spent elsewhere. It's not that these decks are terrible or bad by any means, but they're just not quite worth 500 gems. So if we go back here, I think the best place to start is probably with these bundle deals. So these will give you 10 master packs plus 1 guaranteed ultra rare, and all 3 of these ultra rares are great: Ash Blossom, Lightning Storm, and Solemn Judgment. Not only do you get a free ultra though, these are actually discounted packs. These bundles only cost 750 gems for 10 master packs plus 1 guaranteed ultra rare, while the normal master packs, like just getting 10 of them, would cost you 1,000 gems, and you wouldn't be guaranteed to get a Judgment or a Lightning Storm or an Ash Blossom. With that in mind, I do want to mention here, be very careful about buying the master packs. This particular pack has 6,750 different cards, so trying to build a deck while only buying master packs is going to be borderline impossible. What you want to do is that when you buy any pack, or when you craft a super rare or ultra rare from a specific archetype, that unlocks a secret pack, and that's what you want to be buying. So if we go over here, you can see I have some secret packs unlocked. They only stay unlocked for 24 hours, but it's not that hard to get them back in the store because all you'd have to do is craft 1 super rare from the pack that you're trying to get. So when you buy these packs, like let's open the Thunder Dragon one for example, instead of getting 8 random cards from a pool of 6,750, you'll get 8 cards, but 4 of them are guaranteed to be the cards that are featured in the pack. So this is a great way to actually make sure that the packs you're getting are going to have the cards that you really want. I've built a ton of decks in this game so far, and for every single one of them I was able to make them because I was buying specifically the secret pack that their archetype belonged to. I've built Altergeist, Toons, Madolche, stuff like that, and those all have secret packs, so it's a lot better to buy secret packs than the master packs because the secret packs are way less broad. Tip number 2 is to not jump head first without doing any research about the decks that are good. And I don't only mean decks that are good as in competitively viable, I'm also talking about their price. So in this game, there's a very cool feature where you can actually put together a deck even if you don't own the cards for it. And while you can't play the deck, you can at the very least see what the deck would look like if it was fully built. You can take a look at how many ultra rares it plays, how many super rares it plays, and that can give you a basic idea of how much it's going to cost to make. So for example, if I wanted to build a Blue Eyes deck, I could type Blue Eyes, and this little button right here either shows you all the cards that you own, which is this, or all the cards in the entire game with the thing that you typed in. So if I wanted to try and build a Chaos Max deck, but I didn't know how much it would cost, I could go through here and say, okay, maybe I want to play 3 copies of Chaos Max, 3 copies of Chaos Space, maybe 2 copies of Bingo Machine Go. I mean, who am I kidding? Let's play 3 of this card. 2 copies of the Spirit Synchro Monster. You have a bunch of like other Blue Eye support, and you can build the deck even though you don't own all of the cards. And what this can show you is what the deck breakdown is going to look like. So this deck, for example, already I would consider probably more expensive than it's actually worth. This is a fair amount of ultra rares. I mean, maybe you don't have to play the Bingo Machine Go, but keep in mind that also I haven't even put in like a full 40 cards here, and the extra deck is only 2 cards. So you can kind of see how expensive or inexpensive a deck is before you go out and try to buy a bunch of packs for that archetype. This is a great way to make sure you are not wasting your gems on a deck that even after using a bunch of gems on, you might not be able to build it. And I think it's pretty important to go out there and do your research by watching YouTube videos or watching Twitch live streams about Master Duel, because there are a lot of good budget deck building guides out there. Decks like Dragon Maid and Tri-Brigade and Eldritch don't have that many ultra rares. They're pretty budget friendly, but they're also very good decks in this game compared to a deck like Toons, for example. So I built a Toon deck, and in that video I mentioned this deck is very expensive. Let's take a look at my Toon OTK deck, which I featured about a week ago on the channel. This one is way too expensive for what it is. It features a ton of ultra rares: Max C, BLS, Lightning Storm, Toon Kingdom, Forbidden Droplet. This is not a budget friendly deck, but also it's not even that great of a deck in this game. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's nowhere near the level of Eldritch or Tri-Brigade or Dragon Maid or plenty of other budget friendly decks. So you really want to make sure you are doing your research and not investing in decks that aren't going to give you a lot back. Decks like Toons and Blue Eyes, and honestly things like Dark Magician as well, those big like nostalgic decks look cool, and you certainly can build them if you really want to, but in terms of gem efficiency, they're not really that good. Next up, in regards to crafting, I'll mention that it's a good idea to have a bunch of generically playable cards that can work in a variety of decks. I've pulled aside a bunch of these that I personally own, but there's plenty of others too, so these are cards that you can play in a ton of different strategies. You have good generic pot spell cards like Desires, Extravagance, and Prosperity. You have good generic going first cards like Called by the Grave and Crossout Designator. You have good generic board breaking cards like Lightning Storm and Forbidden Droplet, and you have a bunch of random hand traps like Veiler, Maxi, Ash, Nibiru, and Infinite Impermanence. You don't have to try and go out and build a deck with 3 copies of all of these, and you don't have to even go out and try to craft all of these immediately, but they are good cards to own just in general, because it means that when you build a new deck, you don't have to worry about crafting these cards. Next up, and this is especially for free-to-play players, but I think it applies to everyone as well, you should try out solo mode. So solo mode will give you a ton of cards and gems and cosmetics. This is a really great way to experience Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially if you're a little bit uncomfortable with how the game works. In this mode, you can play against AI opponents with a bunch of loner decks, so you don't even have to own any cards to play in solo mode. It's a really cool way to get to experience modern Yu-Gi-Oh! If you haven't played Yu-Gi-Oh! In a while, or if you're a brand new Yu-Gi-Oh! Player, and you get to try out a whole bunch of different decks. And actually, once you complete these modes, you are given a basic deck with the archetype that was featured. I'll mention here that I haven't gone through and played all of the solo mode things here, but I think it's a really good starting point for newer and returning players that are trying out Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel. Finally, I'll mention my last tip, and this is a bit cheesy, but bear with me here. Don't get discouraged when you first enter the ranked mode if you start losing a lot of games. There are a lot of players that currently play the Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG in real life with meta decks, and they're just starting out in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel as well, so when they start the game, they might be willing to spend a bunch of money to build a super competitive deck, but they'll be in the rookie rank. When you first start playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, you shouldn't be worried about winning every single game. You should just try to figure out how Yu-Gi-Oh! Works in 2022, how rulings work, how chain links work. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very complicated game, and Master Duel can be a bit overwhelming, so don't feel bad if you're not winning right out of the gate. My advice would be to try and learn one new thing in each game you play, even if you aren't winning. Maybe you learn about a new strategy, or a new combo, or a new ruling, or a new thing like that. You know, it's completely up to you, but I think trying to learn one thing in each duel is a really good idea. Don't beat yourself up about your win-loss ratio when you start out Master Duel. Just try to learn a new thing in each game you play. You'll find yourself improving a lot faster than you might imagine. Anyway, that is all for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel is a great game. There's a lot of fun to be had in it, but it can be a bit overwhelming at the start, so I hope that these tips have helped you guys out. Let me know in the comment section below if there's any tips that you thought I should have mentioned, because honestly, I tried to cover the main things, but there are so many topics when it comes to Master Duel that I'm sure I missed a tip or two. So let me know in the comments what other tips that you guys would have for new and returning Yu-Gi-Oh! Players. I'll see you later though. Thanks so much for watching. Goodbye.